Not knowing what to grow in May is one of those moments where it can really feel like you're now already behind, like everything's moving fast, plants are taking off, and that feeling like you've just missed your chance kicks in. But you haven't. I've been gardening for years, and May really is one of the best times to get properly stuck in. So in this episode, I'm going to walk you through just 5 brilliant plants that you can grow right now, and some of them might just surprise you. If you're overlooking peas, then you might actually just be missing out on one of the garden's easiest wins. And that's because peas are one of those crops that are almost just so simple, and because of that, they often just get ignored. But they are incredibly productive, they're easy to grow, and they are perfect for sowing right now in May, and you can even sow them direct. If you haven't grown them before, they're soft climbing plants with delicate tendrils, I suppose, fresh green foliage, and eventually they produce the pods that we want that are filled with sweet, tender peas. And there truly is no comparison in taste when it comes to comparing homegrown versus shop bought, because as soon as you pop one of those pods open, or if it's sugar, snap, or manage to eat the whole thing, that sweetness just cuts through everything. Now, before we go any further, if you want simple seasonal advice like this every month with a bit of honesty, look at these weeds, then make sure that you're subscribed to this channel. Now, in terms of growing peas, you do have options. You can prepare a bed like I'm doing and then sow them directly into the soil. Or what I do every year that works beautifully is start them in guttering. I'll sow 2 staggered rows into each piece of guttering, because that way you can slide out a full row of young plants in one go into the bed. Very quick, tidy and satisfying. Then just pop in lots of twiggy pea sticks for support, keep them watered and watch them grow. Variety wise, Hurst Green Shaft is a brilliant all-rounder. It's reliable, it's heavy cropping and has great flavour. But if you prefer to eat the pods whole, go for Oregon Sugar Pod or Spring Blush. Both of these are excellent Mange 2 types, with Spring Blush having exactly that, a beautiful pink blush to the pods that is just so pretty and appetising. They're low effort, quick to establish and incredibly rewarding, and that's why I grow them every year and why I think you should as well. Fresh peas straight from the garden are just on a completely different level. This might feel like a big commitment, but that's exactly what makes asparagus just so special. I want to recommend growing asparagus in May, and asparagus is a brilliant perennial vegetable, which means that once it's established, it's going to come back for you year after year, and that fits perfectly into my more permanent low effort or attempted low effort way of gardening here, really leaning into my guild garden concept. What you're growing here, as you can see, this is even just a baby, are tall, feathery plants that develop from crowns, or if you buy them as young plants. But they're prized for those spears of lovely spring, tender yumminess. Genuinely one of the best things that you can grow and eat. You can plant asparagus as crowns, but you would do that way back in the early spring. But the reason that I'm suggesting it now isn't because I've gone crazy. It's because you can buy young plants in pots like this from the garden centre, or do as I do and start them from seed. That's what I've done. I sowed these back at the end of last year, overwintered them in the greenhouse and brought them on in these pots. This specific variety is called Ariane. It's an F1 seed. It's quicker to establish than older types. And yes, this is going to take a couple of years before you're going to be able to harvest asparagus properly. But at the same time, there's something really satisfying about that process, and it is far more cost effective, trust me, and certainly more cost effective than buying asparagus. Now, as a little bit of an experiment, you're going to see that I'm not growing them in beds anymore. I'm growing them in these massive tubs, which is not the traditional approach. But my thinking is that it should work if I give them enough depth of nice, rich compost and soil. Asparagus is a slightly higher commitment crop, and it's definitely not low effort, but once you've tasted the first spears of your own, you realise that it is an absolute luxury and a privilege to have in your garden. So try growing some from seed. I've really enjoyed it over the years, and stick with me on the channel and I'll let you know over time whether these big containers of asparagus work. Just to stop you for a moment, did you know that I've got a weekly email newsletter? And if you're subscribed, you also get exclusive access to my micro podcast, a short 5-minute hit of gardening goodness that I only share there with my subscribers. If that sounds like your kind of thing, head over to nilegardens.com and sign up. Now, I do say it's weekly. Sometimes I drop the odd week. Right, back to the plants. I'm starting to pull together all of my big pots and all of my big containers, because if you think that bulbs are just for spring, lilies are going to completely change that idea. Lilies are one of the easiest ways that you can bring serious colour and impact into your summer garden. You're growing from bulbs, and that means that it gives you a real advantage because they're just that little bit more assured of success. They're ready to perform as soon as you buy them. Once you get them planted, they're going to push up with strong stems topped with these really full-on coloured, heavily scented flowers. The flowers themselves are incredible. They're bold, they're structured, and in most varieties, they have that beautiful fragrance. I'm growing 2 types this year, Claude Schreid, which is a martagon lily type for a slightly more natural look, and one called Forever Susan, which has these striking orange and dark red contrasts that really stand out. Now, Forever Susan is, as they would say, a lot of look. But I suppose lilies are, right? Now, they work beautifully in nice big containers or in borders because they bring that height, often reaching about 1 metre or more, depending on the type that you get. They're also really brilliant for pollinators. I always talk about pollinators and biodiversity, especially the open varieties, and they fit really nicely into a scheme in amongst other perennials and edibles. In terms of effort, they are very straightforward. Plant them in some well-drained compost or soil, give them loads of light and water, and they're going to do the rest. They bring structure, they bring colour, they bring scent and a real sense of occasion to the garden. So already you've got something quick and productive with peas, something long-term and a little bit special with asparagus, and then that real burst of colour and scent with lilies. And actually, I'm sticking with that idea of bulbs and reliable planting. Speaking of lilies, they're actually a perfect example of something that you can pick up really easily online, and that's where I've got another great discount code for you because I know how much you appreciate them, and I'm delighted to be teaming up again with J. Parker's because they've been a trusted supplier of mine for, well, a number of years now, and I genuinely use them in my own garden all the time. I'm going to put these down. Now, you might think of J. Parker's as just a bulb supplier, but they offer so much more than that. Yes, their range of bulbs like lilies, tulips, daffodils, crocuses and everything is fantastic. But did you know that they also have bare root perennials, potted perennials, dahlia tubers, all kinds of potted plants? So whatever you're looking to grow, there is a huge amount of choice. And what really stands out to me is the quality. I've planted so many of their plants over the years, and I gotta say, they've honestly never let me down. Good sized, fresh stock, strong growth, and really reliable flowering. You really do see that difference once you get them into the ground and they get working away. Delivery is also really quick, which does make a big difference when you're ready to get planting and you don't want to be waiting around. And here's the best bit. You can get 15% off your entire order with my discount code NILE15. Use jparkers.co.uk if you're in England, Wales or Scotland, or jparkers.com if you're in the Republic of Ireland or Northern Ireland. So if you've been inspired by those lilies I was talking about, or anything else that I'm chatting about in today's episode, now is the perfect time to get started with your planting. Right, back to the video. Oh, I did not plan this next segment out well, because I'm going to have to get down really low. Now, rosemary. It might feel Mediterranean, but it is one of the most useful, easy to grow, reliable plants that you can grow out there. It's an evergreen herb with these narrow, I suppose, needle-like leaves and a really strong woody structure. So it means that this can grow into a really substantial shrub over time, but it is slow to do that. But it's also incredibly versatile because you can get upright forms or prostrate types that spill over the edge of containers. Now, I've got a prostrate one here, this trailing rosemary, and it works brilliantly in pots or raised beds like here because it softens the edges of them while still giving you something fragrant and edible. You can see that it produces these really lovely little blue flowers in spring, which are just brilliant for pollinators. Bees love them. So it's a great plant for biodiversity as well as your own kitchen. Once it's established, rosemary is really low effort. It does prefer free draining soil in a sunny spot, but beyond that, it's tough, drought tolerant, and it just gets on with it. Because let's face it, if I can grow it in my garden in wet, cool Ireland, you know it's tough and it's going to work well for you. It's also incredibly easy to propagate. You can take cuttings, just snip off a piece, strip the lower leaves off the bottom of that sprig, and you can even root them in water. It is one of the most simple ways to make plants for free. You can grow it as a shrub, a container plant, or you can even clip it into a low hedge. So it's practical, it's productive, and I don't know about you, but I think it looks good all year round. Right now is peak rhubarb season, and it is one of the most brilliant crops I think that you can have. Check this out, isn't it splendid? And more importantly, huge. This is just one of my rhubarb plants, and as you can see, rhubarb is this big, bold architectural plant with large leaves and big, thick, brightly coloured stems that really stand out in the garden. Now, it does take up a bit of space, as you can see, but it earns it. This time of year, mid-spring to June, early July time, is when you can harvest it properly, pulling those stems, removing the leaves, and then turning these stems into something incredible. Roasted, stewed, or even made into wine, it's one of those crops that really feels like such a treat, and there's nothing else that tastes like rhubarb tastes. While it's often planted as crowns in a winter, or in the winter, there's a reason that I'm recommending it now, and it's because you can still buy these as young plants in a pot very affordably and plant them now. All you need to do is make sure that they're going into rich, moist soil, keep it well watered, and it's going to establish really quickly for you in the nice weather. Now, you've also got the option of not just pulling these stems now, but forcing them in the winter. And that's where what you need is a rhubarb forcer. It's one of those terracotta things, or you can even use a bucket. And what it does is it isolates all of the light, blocking out the light and forcing these stems, rather than being nice and green and strong like this, to stretch, to etiolate. And what you get left with are these fluorescent, bright pink, tender, sweet stems. In terms of maintenance, this is super low maintenance. And what's really nice is it's another perennial that adds to a really good permanent fruit and veg setup year after year, which is exactly what I'm after here in the Guild Garden. It's just one of those plants that feels generous. And if you're looking for generosity, get some rhubarb into your garden. Now, the tricky part isn't just knowing what to grow, it's knowing how to actually fit all of this into your space in a way that's going to work for you. Because choosing plants is one thing, but getting them to thrive together is something else entirely. So if you're not quite sure how to plan all of that out, I've got a video right here that's going to help you make sense of that. And until next time, see you later.